Absolutely. Well, as you know, because any business owner, you have two pieces. You have first, you have the lead gen. You know, you got to get the call, and then what do you do with the call, which is, you know, at least equally important. So, how would you recommend somebody going about building a business plan or figuring out, you know, what their sell to the customer is going to be? You know, because you have all of these great resources, and I think all the ones you mentioned were free. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those. I don't think you were saying all those are free, and they'll definitely generate you leads, and you'll find which ones are better, and you know, and then where you should invest your time, and then you'll eventually get capital. But how do you recommend for somebody to develop a business plan?
You know, I wish I could tell you like about developing a business plan. I'm not the guy to ask about that. I just go with it. You know, I have a loose plan in my head.
Ideas, I think you're absolutely the right guy. One of your ideas that we were talking about the other day was guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to minimize your costs. You know, and I would kind of jump in and say that one of the things that most businesses do is they get pricing wrong. And the way that I say that is they price out of fear. They think that the business model is to have super low prices, and then that will catapult them to the top. Most entrepreneurs that are not business owners are trying to come in from the bottom. And I think you have 95% of the market of entrepreneurs who are coming in from the bottom of the market. And there's only probably 5% who are trying to come in from the top and be the best. And you know, and have the prices that are, because you need to generate capital. And you got to realize that what you're doing is you're not selling yourself anymore. You're selling your business. And businesses charge a lot more than individuals. So if you're still going out there trying to charge like an individual and not like a business, you're never going to be able to grow like a business. So charge like a professional, top-notch, legitimate business who's got the best service. You know, which is really, you know, service is really difficult, especially for me, just operations. And you know, especially starting out now, you know, you have receptionists and operations becomes a lot smoother. But so how do you have to be able to position yourself. So a business, I had a conversation one time, and I was talking to somebody, a representative of a university here local, and they were saying, come in and we'll help you build a business plan. And I kind of jokingly said that, you know, anybody who has a business plan probably isn't going to be in business for very long, you know. And but then now kind of thinking back on it is I do absolutely have a business plan, you know, and it's just nothing that, you know, you've had to have written down. But for any business, you know, a business plan is built around a pivot. And so you have to understand first what you were saying, which is how do you get a lead, and then what do you do with it? And that's really where it comes into building a sales flow.
Yeah, totally. And to go to that business plan thing, it's funny because, you know, sometimes you hear like this general like advice from like books. And it's like, I remember hearing one thing was, you know, before you go to sleep at night, write down the 7 things you're going to do tomorrow, write them down in a list, and then wake up and then do all 7, you know? And, you know, like that's when I think a business plan or any of these like kind of planning type of things, I just think like maybe for some people they need that for their discipline. Like for me, I'd probably write that list down, like toss it somewhere and never see it again, you know? And then I wake up and I'd be like, wait, I did something last night, you know, where is that thing? But and the thing about it too is the plan, right? There's a saying that goes, the best battle plan doesn't survive first contact with the enemy. right? Whatever battle plan you have out, as soon as you hit the actual physical world with that plan, the world smacks you down and it says, hey, you planned on this, you planned on getting this person to call you, saying this to them and having them sign up. Well, guess what? You called them, you know, their wife was there, started yelling at them, you know, and then all of a sudden your plan of this perfect sale, all of a sudden got a monkey wrench thrown in. That plan didn't survive the battlefield. And that story actually did happen to me. Yeah, so this plan is like, so I do have a business plan, but it's like in my head and it's always ready to morph and move. And we're in a world that is changing faster, right, than anything we've ever seen, that anything, you know, anybody's ever seen in the history of the world. Like they do a comparison about like historical armies, right? Obviously you can tell I'm into like history and you know, that's where I get a lot of my analogies. But they do this story about like, if Alexander the Great's army, right, which is 300 BC, fought at the Battle of Hastings, right, which is 1000 AD, right, 1300 years later, right, this is like 300 style Greeks with spears, right, fighting, you know, this is Bronze Age, fighting medieval knights with full body armor, right? A big, you know, pretty big technological difference. But historians argue, like, at this time in history, these guys from 1300 years before might have actually been able to beat the knights at the Battle of Hastings 1300 years later.
And that's exactly what we're able to do today because of the internet, is beat all these giant companies that have been around for 30 and 50 years.
Yeah, and I mean, and those companies are going through all these changes too, and they're getting shooken up. And if, you know, if they don't keep up, and if they don't have the, you know, if they're not keeping up with the changes, if they're not studying every piece of technology,